Red Light Falling, Episode 3, Where Does Forgiveness Begin? Written by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. The novel Red Light Falling, a noir tale of redemption by John Andrews, Joseph Cautilli, and Marisha Cautilli. Book 1 of Nanite Nation series. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shauna Lee Carton. Music by Marisha Cautilli. At 5 a.m, Johnson's eyes snap wide open. His mind is a blank slate. His chest hammers with fear. Fear of what? A dream he can't even recall. But his heart races and sweat pours down his face. Hurry up, flashes into his mind. But the context disappears. The private eye could have rewritten the dream if he had remembered even a piece of it. A therapist had once taught him to do so. But Johnny was far from the information needed for such a task. The covers on his bed are soaked so deeply. For a second, he worries he has pissed himself. Briefly, he tries to recall the blurred montage of his dream, but to no avail. This is pointless. It's just a dream. Focus on the now. Johnson yanks his long but thinning hair in frustration. The room is dimly lit as the skies outside remain overcast. It's a good sign. The days have been too hot over the last 6 months. Johnson hopes for cooler days soon. On his windowsill, 2 pigeons perch. Their dark gray wings with black stripes beat against the window. The pigeons remind him of his time in the service. Private Eye had watched the birds as he trained for war. Briefly, Johnny recalls the dreadful days and Al Hay. In his mind, he hears the Iraqi children complaining it's too hot to play outside. Feeling overwhelmed, Johnson decides to ground himself. The detective focuses on his surroundings, noting the dim light filtering through the curtains, the cool air on his skin, the faint smell of rain. He takes slow, deep breaths, inhaling through his nose and exhaling through his mouth. Just breathe, Johnny. In and out. You're here, not there. Dragging himself out of bed, Johnson brews a strong pot of coffee from 1B water. With Lily's money behind him, the water costs don't even bother him. As he pours the first cup, he calls for the radio. Music. Playlist 001. Remembering nice stuff. Sinatra's voice fills the room, singing, "It was a very good year." The song tears into his heart. Johnny didn't have a new woman every year. Indeed, his heart belongs to one woman who now hates him. To further ground himself, Johnson engages his senses. He focuses on the warmth of the coffee mug in his hands, hears the soft music playing, and sees the steam rising from the cup. Stay in the present, Johnny. One step at a time. The detective briefly remembers a time after the war when he slept with his P4 under his pillow. He woke one night, drew the gun, and almost shot. It was good Johnny did not, or he'd have killed Jackie. Johnson stopped sleeping with the gun after that, and soon put the P4 in some old boxes in the attic. At work, he switched to the more modern Smith & Wesson ion cano. Now his hands tremble and his body shakes. The detective finishes the first pot and brews a second. Coffee always brightens his mood. Several cups into the second, he feels awake enough to shower. Stripping off his sweat-soaked clothes, the detective steps in. The warm water feels good on his skin, pulsing down his body and loosening his lower back and neck muscles. Let the water wash it all away. Start fresh. Quickly, he shaves after the shower. The razor scrapes against his skin, but he likes the way the cutting makes his face feel sharp and clean. After the shave, Johnny splashes on some aftershave and then dresses. You're in control. You've got this. Heading into the kitchen, Johnson retrieves some turkey breasts from the freezer. He flips 3 slices between 2 pieces of bread, spreads mustard over the turkey, and adds a pickle. Finally, he wraps the sandwich in aluminum foil and tosses it into a brown paper bag. Oddly, as was his habit, the old detective makes a second sandwich for Daisy. Johnny has offered it to her for the past 3 years. She always declines. Absent-mindedly, his fingers hover over some dried crickets in his insect jar, and he pops a few into his mouth. The detective loves the nutty chicken taste, but the Asian ones taste like bacon, a rare commodity as global warming drove up meat and pork costs so high, most people outside the top 5% can't afford them. With each task, Johnson continues to ground himself, staying present in the moment to keep the nightmarish feelings at bay. Stay grounded, Johnny. One step at a time. Meanwhile, across town, Turtle Dove presses a button on her stereo. Apart from a rack of clothes, her room holds a small chest of drawers and a futon. The room is spacious and nearly empty. Ill-disposed, still sane blasts out in the empty space. She gazes out of her window and notes.
A dry, humid evening.
Across the street from her place, 3 men stand in front of a fruit stand, arguing over the price of apples. The ground trembles, shaking her building. Turtle Dove grabs the wall, her fingers digging into the paint. New Cyber City never had earthquakes until Hastings started hydraulic fracturing, about 20 kilometers outside the city. Now an occasional rumble occurs. The tremor lasts barely 2 minutes, but it feels like an eternity. Walking along the bare floorboards of her corridor, Turtle Dove slips out of her underwear and enters the bathroom. She examines the bruises from the day before when that Cody kid hit her with the phone. The black and blue skin bubbles.
It hurts a ton, but he's dead. So I got the better deal. Alpha Predator.
She thinks, a dark smile playing on her lips. The assassin turns on the shower and adjusts the temperature to a tepidness just below warm, and showers. The water splashes against her skin, each droplet feeling like a pinprick. As the dove dries her hair, a beeping interrupts her. Cursing out loud, she picks up her phone and opens it to reveal an image of a current map with Eddie White's location. So, people at Hastings are doing their best, getting her the information to complete her work. Snapping the phone closed, the dove stands and opens the bottom drawer, taking out her juice packet. Opening the small, brown, slender package, she takes out a tiny cloth-wrapped box. Slowly, she rubs her fingers over the top of the box. The assassin likes how the hardwood feels on her fingertips, anticipating the excitement to follow. Her index finger traces the edge of the box. Her body tingles with anticipation. Setting up for a hit, the assassin draws the needle from the box. Carefully, she measures the yellow neon substance. It's a hybrid version of juice. Always a tiny dose to make her alert, but not enough for her to lose control. The dove flicks the needle tip with her finger until a small amount of air and some of the juice spurts out. Using the tie from her robe as a tourniquet, she palpates her arm. The veins grow visible. Her eyes burn with raw need. The woman anticipates the burn as the needle will soon enter. She licks her dry lips. The muscles in her biceps twitch ever so slightly. When the metal point of the plastic insulin needle pierces her arm, she feels the prick of pain. And then, when the blood mixes with the needle's contents, the rush is instantaneous. As the drug courses through her body, Turtledove sees at those who cannot control their addictions.
Those weak bastards.
Thinks the assassin. The ones who ruin the drug for Turtledove, needing it the way people need their fix of caffeine and nicotine, or the people who sit alone in the bars needing the amber liquid to fizzle out their mundane day. A boost, a quick jolt, a pick-me-up to keep her on her toes. That's all the woman feels. On time off or paid downtime when she has to lay low for whatever reason, Turtledove does not touch the stuff. The assassin doesn't even crave it. Instead, having it on her, wherever she is, just in case a call comes in and she needs to be alert and fast. Turtledove packs away her stuff, places the box back, and closes the bottom drawer. She opens the top and takes out some sleek underwear. Pulling the panties on, the dove picks up the bra and straps it on. She then attaches a small knife-shaped wallet to her bra before hooking it together. The small wallet carries an emergency knife for those tight spots. The dove finishes dressing and leaves the building. The air outside is thick and oppressive, like it's weighing her down. Often, she thinks with scorn that maybe, just maybe, the juice Hastings supplies her as a perk for the job is watered down. She wouldn't put it past them. They always strike her as a bunch of cheap bastards. But then the firm will inside Turtledove shuns that thought and pushes it aside, as it has done many times before. She presses a button and a large garage door opens, revealing an array of sports quads and zipline speedster bikes. She tows a red bike today, which was not the most powerful. The bike stays low. The company made it for low hovering, but it was not powerful enough to enter the streamlines. The marketing for the bike is aimed at teens. However, this is the first bike Turtledove bought. She paid for it with her first pay packet from a job with the Hastings Corporation, and it allows her to roam the streets almost undetected. Turtledove's mind rolls in the pleasant memory and high from the first job. In many ways, she spends her life chasing that high, the high of her first kill. The streets of New Cyber City are eerily quiet as she rides through them, the neon lights casting a ghastly glow on the buildings. Every shadow seems to whisper secrets, and every corner promises danger. The city feels alive, pulsing with a dark, foreboding energy that mirrors the tension coiled within her. The assassin licks her lips. She's on the hunt tonight, and nothing will stand in her way, especially the old fool. When Eddie wakes up, he spends time trying to collect his thoughts. He isn't sure why he followed Preacherson back to his place. The boy guesses. Any bet is a good one. One thing Eddie knows for sure is that he needs to find some work to support himself. Eddie grips his pants and rebuckles the waist. Rising out of the bed, his gaze drifts around the room. "Thought you would never wake up," Preacherson says from the corner. He sits there almost entirely silent, startling Eddie with his presence. "It felt like I slipped into a black hole," Eddie mutters, feeling the weight of his tiredness. Justin grins. It is vast and slightly ugly. Then the older boy chuckles. "I got a lot to show you today." When Eddie was 7, his father often started the day with similar statements. In some ways, Eddie finds it both comforting and annoying. He shoots Justin a glance of adolescent rebellion, but then follows him. Having some talent with computer systems, Preacherson spends the afternoon showing Eddie how to use a skimmer on the scanners of local stores. When they complete the task, they return to Preacherson's lair and wait. Once a week, they will download the information collected by the skimmers. That's the plan. After a few trials, Preacherson can ease Eddie into the game and make some easy money. Sitting at Preacherson's lair, they split a soft drink, talk about girls and their schools, and generally have a good time. They play a game with the tap water, putting it in a cup and lighting it on fire. Politicians have promised to clean up the water on this side of town, but the desire to change anything was washed away in a tidal wave of corporate cash. Still, the colors the water gives off as it burns are mesmerizing. The room isn't much, but it's home, since the state pays for it. As long as Justin and the other occupants are in, when their social workers come by, it's theirs until they reach the age of 21. Is school still a load of crap? I have to admit, I haven't been to mine a lot. I go to Hastings North. I guess you go south, huh? Justin inquires. Since the Hastings Corporation adopted the schools, they changed their name to the companies and taught from the official company curriculum. I did, but since we moved, I've just been transferred to North. Since you haven't been in much, and I am 11, we haven't seen each other. You know, it's a real bitch when you go from one to the other in 4 months. It sucks. Eddie feels angry, tears welling, and swallows hard. Grabbing a candy bar, he rips into it and munches on the sweet goodness, quelling his thoughts. Hungry? Me too. I've got some ready money. Let's go out for a burger or something. My treat. The boys throw on their trainers and leave the apartment. Justin locks the door behind him and gives it a push to make sure it's secure. The hallway is filled with multicolored spray paint of tags from all the graffiti artists in the building. That's my tag, Justin announces proudly, pointing to the word Soul Stealer, in a mix of purple, red, black, and gray. They head down the hallway. Justin says hi to the small kid who shares the other flat on this floor, and the kid scurries into the shared bathroom. Don't mind Mouse. He's a shy one. Been here 2 months, give or take. He hasn't spoken. Not one damn word to anyone. Found him on the streets by the wharf, way down in the poor district. Poor putz. He won't even talk to his worker. Don't know who he is or where he came from. There's no way to track the parents. And nothing is showing in the records, DNA or retina scan. Seems to me like the family was too poor to register him at birth and then just forgot to do it. Or maybe they couldn't pay the fees. That's why you were hard to track, huh? Something like that. I was gonna get registered real soon. My mom and Dickface talking about it, but I guess that won't be happening now. I'm never going back there. I feel used. I don't even feel like a human. Fuck. Rushing down a flight of steps, they reach the door. Preacherson twists the knob, which looks like it's going to break off in his hands. Eddie swallows the last of his candy bar as they leave the building. Seeing the trash bin right there, he ditches the wrapper. With the roar of the elevated train in the background, they walk off to get some fast food grub. Ripping off an air filtration mask, Jackie Cyber jumps into her chair. She clutches energy drinks, and her intern is ready for the coffee run. She feels prepared to go. She wants to bring out the nostalgia playlist as she links into the system, just as the crew did when she arrived at station WXIU. They cheer her initiative. Her white studio room is spacious. Indeed, it's bigger than her entire apartment when she was married. The bar wall on the station opens to a double-paned glass soundproof sliding door that leads to a tiny patio. The draperies over the glass door are pure virgin white. It's the color she's used to seeing only on doilies. Beyond the door is a backyard full of peaceful sounds. Birds chirp and twitter. Often, on her break, she sits outside and soaks up the sun's rays. Today, sitting out there inspires her. Songs from yesteryear that genuinely mean something to the famous radio personality of the cyberwaves trample into her mind. The radio jockey opens up one of the small drawers. Usually, this is where she keeps the important do not lose documents and information. The CD is taped to the underside. It isn't often she wants it on, or even sees it. Certain songs mean too much. Hastily, she rips at the CD. It falls into her hand with an old living photograph. A memory that won't disappear. Gradually drawing a grin in the moving picture, Johnny Johnson stares back at her. Not the old and tired Detective Johnson, but a pre-war punk rocker Johnson, young and naive. The little straight-edge boy who swept her off her feet many moons ago. The teen survived the sinking of Key West after he lost his family but found his way back to her. Back then, New Cyber City was a group of cities before the area around Wall Street in New York was submerged, when this section was just Philadelphia. Jackie's heart still races when she views the picture. Then, the sense of loss hits. The racing dissipates into feelings of pain.
How the hell can I still love him? He exists as an empty shell.
Maybe it's her free spirit and peaceful ways, but the radio personality wants to forgive. She feels bitter that they ruined the best times of their lives when he enlisted. Worse still, Johnson's beliefs hardened when he joined the military. But maybe life is about being grateful for what one has, not what's lost. Differences of moral opinion aside, they soon marry and somehow manage to have children. Seeing the family while on leave becomes Johnson's trademark. With trembling hands, Jackie turns the old CD over in her palm. For the first time in a long while, she notices her fingers are crooked from the arthritis in her hands. She opens and clenches them 3 times. Despite the disease, her hands still work well. The stinging of tears wells up in Jackie, and she wipes her eyes with a bent index finger. Time has robbed her of something special. It's more than just her youth and grace. But she can't put her finger on what it is. She coughs, pulls the tab of a Hastings Energy Plus drink, and guzzles half a can. Shaking herself out of her melancholy, she fumbles with the CD and puts it on with a nostalgia playlist. Usually, she'd settle on a melancholy array of painful songs anyone can understand. Still, today, she goes for something more personal. The rich, apparent harmony of a long-gone American band, the Beach Boys. The love song hums out. Jackie chokes up. The ballad plays across the radio waves, embracing everyone on that wavelength. She muses.
Why did it have to turn out this way? Could things have been different? Could I have saved him?
The music doesn't answer, but offers a strange comfort, wrapping her in a cocoon of bittersweet memories and unspoken regrets. Johnson drives his wreck when the haunting sound hits. He closes his eyes briefly, hoping the pain will pass. This is their song. The band they hired for their wedding reception played it, and they slowly danced to it. Johnny knows the playlist well. Not just the songs, but the pain they now represent. For a minute, just a minute, Johnson is transported back to a time long ago. It feels like another life. Back in the day, Johnson put the list together. Now, he coughs and chokes on his saliva, feeling sick. Sick with an empty feeling, a sense of loss. Sometimes, when he and Jackie were the only people around, he put the CD in his bright, shiny new quad and pulled her close. It was just the 2 of them against the world. Nothing could separate them. Unfortunately, Johnny and Jackie had not only separated, but divorced. Now Johnson's quad clottered, an old piece of junk. His thoughts race around how much he resembles his quad. Of the car, the detective thinks, old and broken, lifeless at times. Even the rear feels like it is falling off. Maybe one day he'll have enough to spring for a newer quad, but he doesn't foresee that happening anytime soon. Peering up at the road, the detective feels tired. It's early. The sun is rising, so he pulls into an all-night cafe. Slowly, hovering down to a stop, his mind blurs with tears of the past. As the quad stops, he reaches for the steering wheel. Johnson's quad is old, without an underquad cell slot. He calls it his Mustang, after the old car made in the last century, but more importantly, after the mighty horse. Still, Johnson manually types in a code that allows him access to a stock of loose cells through a slot in the hole in the middle of the steering wheel. From the side, a police quad lands. Johnson bites his lip, knowing who the driver is. Officer J. The man exits his quad, and the detective half expects to see white smoke coming up on his side so he can touch Jay's gray speckled hair. Ultimately, the total effect makes Jay appear older, almost Johnson's senior, which is far from the truth. Johnson is 53, and Jay is barely scratching his late 40s. Dressed in his police whites, the officer approaches Johnny's quad like it's a crime scene. A somber investigator trying to figure out something well above his pay grade. But Johnson knows this approach to be an act. Despite all his poor local cop routine, Jay harbors an excellent eye for details and analysis. Often, police forces try to hire men with average intelligence, suspecting that those with more excellent talent would be open to bribery. On several occasions, Johnny suspected Jay had faked his scores to be much lower. Jay kicks the wheels of Johnson's car. "Yes, officer," Johnson says with fake affability. "You need an updated vehicle, Johnson. This relic belongs in a junkyard, not on the streets. You're a hazard." Jay's voice drips with disdain as he climbs into his police cruiser after picking up breakfast. Johnson stares as the slick vehicle unclamps the cell connection and hovers swiftly upward into the early morning commuters. "Typical," Johnson mutters under his breath. The charge seems to take forever. Of all the diners the private eye could have chosen, he stops at the one where that self-righteous jerk of a cop picks up breakfast. Johnson hates that Officer J dislikes him because he isn't a cop. It's stupid and, to be honest, childish, Johnny thinks, as his old Rex slowly gets its cell energy. Neon lights flicker in the distance, casting eerie shadows on the rain-soaked streets. The city hums with synthetic pulse, the heartbeat of New Cyber City. His quad, a testament to his past, sputters to life. The old machine groans as it ascends, a relic in a world of sleek, modern technology. Then he's off, an old, beat-up former soldier with a beat-up wreck of a vehicle. The neon-lit skyline looms ahead, a monolithic reminder of the city's ceaseless march toward the future. The city's grind fills his ears, a constant reminder of the life he once knew and the one he now navigates alone. "I used to believe in something," Johnson thinks, gripping the wheel tighter. "I used to think I could change the world, one punk song at a time. Jackie convinced me of that. It was us against the establishment. But now it's just me, an old soldier, in a sea of lost causes. The city doesn't care. Corporations don't care. But I still care. This has to count for something. It has to." As the quad purrs along, he reflects on his punk roots. He remembers an old adage. Punk was never about the look. It was about the attitude. Question everything. Challenge authority. Never let them break you. I might be old, but the fire's still there. I'll fight until my last breath. Because in a world like this, you fall for everything if you don't stand for something. Tom sits in the meeting room at Hastings Corporation, bored out of his mind. Even though it's a matter of life or death for teens, this meeting feels no different. Instead of pretending to care about his boss's droning, he wishes he could lie back, close his eyes, and get some sleep. When Professor Louis starts to speak, Tom is sure he dozes off. Lately, sleep evades Tom. With Lily White's brat roaming the streets, he spends more nights staring at the ceiling than resting. The garbled echoes in his head and the damn shakes get worse. Tom feels old, an odd feeling he's utterly unaccustomed to. Typically, he has energy to spare, but now his hair is graying and the backs of his legs ache. A trip to the doctor might cure all these problems. Perhaps elongating his telomeres again would fix the feeling, but a nagging inside him is that even a quick medical fix won't help. Not until his promotion chances are restored. With the key to his promotion gone, Tom's unsure he can maintain his current position. In this economy, being out of work would be disastrous. After all, he has bills to pay and needs to show his colleagues he's not slipping. His yacht is almost 4 years old now, and the businessman knows the company's younger members are starting to talk. They're plotting, hoping he's lost a step in middle age. Tom worries most about Carl Long. Long is young and bright, and everything seems to be fading for Tom. Getting the kid back would show them he's still a master of his game, especially if he can retrieve the kid before Turtledove kills him. Professor Louis, what's our latest intel on Eddie White? Do we have a solid lead? Louis glances at her notes, a hint of irritation in her eyes.
We believe he's still within the city limits, possibly in the lower sectors. We have teams monitoring key areas, but nothing concrete yet.
The corporation would still have the DNA if Turtledove kills the brat, or if the Rutledge-Harris serum unlocked the sequence of dormant DNA. Normally, the answer would be to ask Dr. Rutledge or Harris, but Aiden Harris went missing shortly after the 9 towers fell. John Rutledge went into hiding and was reported dead by EarthCorps, killed by some weird cult. If Rutledge's friend, Robert Hastings, knew the answers, he was not telling anyone. Thus, the questions abounded. Why did none of the first-generation serum participants show the traits? All knew it had to attach a starter sequence on a gene sequence. But why were no female kids showing? Was it sex-linked? Would the next generation show female progeny if 2 carriers bore the sequence? Would the females be more powerful? So many questions, so much to answer. But how much better would running scans of the kid's brain be? A functioning and stable psionic brain, no less. Of all the kids who develop mental powers, only Lully's kid hasn't used them to play out some perverted adolescent fantasy. Hell, some kids just lost all motor functions. In some way, it shows the kid has some stability. At least, that's the case up to now. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? Tom needs to get to the kid as soon as possible. Still, his only resource is an old detective who, rumor had it, saved half the genetically enhanced from a computer designed to target their brains. But that itself was almost 2 decades ago. Still, the detective himself has ties to some of those injected with the serum. Tom thinks 6 degrees of separation. An old concept that everyone in the U.S. was about 6 links in people from one another. If only they could find the right 6 people, they could know everyone. Keep me updated, Tom says, trying to mask his frustration. This is critical. The super soldier idea can be redeveloped if they can get the boys into the program. It would be a new leadership generation, not just on the battlefield. Given the intelligence of these kids, if they adequately controlled, Hastings Corporation could control the world. Every political position could be taken, and a new world order established. Tom's eyes quiver and shake as the thoughts elevate his growing hunger for power. He needs that brat alive to focus on the science department. His need for control is firm, obsessive perhaps. Once, he injected a small stolen sample of isolated mutant genes into his system. Now the businessman realizes the mistake made, but at the time he thought it would work.
Tom, are you all right?
Professor Louis asks, noticing his agitation. I'm fine. Just make sure we find that kid. The old man, Hastings, still thinks there's no way of reestablishing the super soldier program. The incident in 2051, which killed off the super soldier experiment, led to the assessment that the program failed. The offspring, who developed the mutant gene, are just disposable evidence, a trail that could be linked back to the corporation. Tom knows Hastings has his own secret. While he did not know the extent, no one lives as long as Hastings and appears as good. Lately, though Hastings has begun to age as if his system was fighting itself rapidly, Tom has heard the promise of small nanobots, or nanites, to explain aging effects and Hastings' secret pledge to leave it to his heir. If true, Tom wants to be that heir. Still, Hastings' refusal to see a future for the super soldier program is frustrating. What does he know? He's a relic. Tom thinks as he glares at the corporation's president. Wringing his hands, Tom notices how hard and dry his skin feels. His breath shortens, and he starts having difficulty breathing. He tries to contain it, not wanting the youngins in the boardroom to notice his distress. I need a break, Tom announces abruptly, rising from his seat. Let's reconvene in an hour. After half listening to the old man's speech, Tom feels he needs a drink. His mouth is dry and his lips are parched. The businessman can almost taste the sweetness of the alcohol sloshing over his palate. Today, the heat is terrible. Although the skies occasionally open to let out a heavy downpour of rain, it stays hot. The thought of the drink makes his breathing ease up. Tom rides the elevator to the parking level and enters his flash silver Speedster 2000. He loves the quad, but even knows it's last year's model. Technology advances much faster than when he was a child. He leans into his seat, buckles up, and inputs the code that allows him to access the sat-nav. The Velvet Room, Tom mutters, and the vehicle's engine roars to life. The power cylinder detaches itself from underneath, and the quad shoots out of the parking lot. Autopilot steering the vice president of Hastings Corporation to the local bar, used exclusively by the corporation. The neon-lit streets of Cyber City blur past, a chaotic dance of light and shadow, as Tom's mind races with visions of power and control. But it all hinges on the success of one old man. Since Johnny has not produced any answers about her kid's location with Tom pushing her, Lily decides to investigate independently. Neither Johnny nor Tom knows she's ready to play some leads. Her reasoning:
A girl's got to have some surprises.
the fear she saw in Tom's face confirms it's the right thing to do. In her head, she feels the pulse of her heart as she heads out. Heart beating quickly, Lily White walks along the street, eyes darting from side to side. She reaches into her bag, opens the outer clasp, grabs some smokes and a lighter, and looks into the sky. Even though the sky is sunny, the clouds darken, as if they brood and judge her. Making an irritated noise, Lily flips the lighter, lights the cigarette, and takes a long drag, letting the smoke flow into her. Christ, she thinks, stuffing the lighter back into the handbag. Her legs ache from walking, and a growing disillusionment with her fate pains her mind. The streets of New Cyber City buzz with eerie energy, shining neon lights casting a ghostly glow on the rain-slicked pavement. Shadows whisper secrets as she walks. each step echoing her uncertainty. The air is thick with the scent of decay and corruption, mingling with the metallic tang of technology. Lily continues down the street toward her destination, the Scorched Wing Division. She takes a huge breath and shakes her head. Deep inside, she's unsure what to say or ask. She hopes to get some answers. The flags on the Scorched Wing building grow closer, their tattered edges flapping like the wings of dark omens. This is where the woman hopes to find some answers in her queries.
Get it together, Lily. You can't rely on Johnny or Tom. You have to do this yourself.
As the woman approaches the entrance, the building looms over her, a monolith of corporate greed and hidden agendas. The city's synthetic heartbeat thrums around her, constant reminder of the ever-present surveillance and control. Lily squares her shoulders and steps inside, the cold metal doors closing behind her with a finality that sends a shiver down her spine. The fluorescent lights inside flicker ominously, casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. The reception area feels sterile, devoid of warmth or humanity. Every corner seems to hide a lurking danger, every passerby a potential threat. Tears drip from her eyes.
Answers, Lily. It would be best if you had answers.
She reminds herself, determination seeping into her veins. The scent of antiseptic and machinery fills her nostrils, mingling with the faint hint of fear. Lily smiles confidently as she reaches the front desk, masking the turmoil inside her.
I'm here to see someone about my son,
she says, her voice steady, despite the storm raging within her. The receptionist looks up, eyes cold and assessing, as if judging her worth in mere seconds.
Name?
The receptionist asks, her tone clipped and mechanical.
Lily White. I need to know what happened to my son.
The receptionist nods, typing something into her terminal.
Take a seat. Someone will be with you shortly.
Lily sits down, the plastic chair hard and unforgiving beneath her. She takes another drag of her cigarette, the smoke curling around her like a protective shroud. The sense of foreboding grows, the weight of the world pressing down on her, suffocating her with its oppressive presence.
Stay strong, Lily. You're close now.
The woman tells herself this, steeling her resolve. As she waits, the hum of the building's machinery fills her ears, a constant reminder of the cold, calculated world she's entered. She's ready to face whatever truth the Scorched Wing Division holds, no matter how dark they may be. Late in the day, in the dim, brown, cherry wood-toned office, reminiscent of the 1940s detective room, Daisy calls Johnny. The Venetian blinds cast striped shadows across the cluttered desk, and the ceiling fan creaks softly, cutting through the thick, smoky air. Leaning back in her dark, cheery wood Amish desk armchair, the secretary knows he won't be happy about the news. Yeah, Daisy, Johnny says, quickly picking up the phone and speaking way too loudly.
Johnny, I hate to tell you this, but the communication company has been calling all day. We must pay them or all our cell phones will be shut off.
Johnny's face tightens with frustration, his features harshly illuminated by the desk lamp's yellow glow. Did Malone make a payment this month? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. It is times like this that Johnny wishes he had moved into a trailer for his business. It would have been much cheaper. Housing has been so bought up by corporations who used price algorithms to determine price. The rents were sky high. The problem with the computer calculations was that once everyone used the same device, it became a form of price fixing. It seems like everyone figured that move out, expect the courts, or maybe they were just tipped by companies to see it differently. Daisy sighs.
Johnny, we put Malone in collections 8 months ago.
Johnny bites his tongue, his brow furrowing deeply as he leans back in his worn leather chair. Oh, can they put us on a payment plan?
You're already on a payment plan, and we're still not paying it, which is why they keep calling.
Daisy's tone reflects the hopelessness of their situation. Johnny rubs his forehead, feeling the roughness of his skin against his fingers. The stress is palpable. If all else fails, I got a portable generator in the office closet. It gives us about 3 to 4 hours a day on solar. Not much.
So, do I still get paid for full time if we're only in the office part-time?
God, I hope things don't come to this. Can you call Mrs. White? The detective inquires, knowing it's a long shot. Let her know. We are very close to finding our kid, but I need 100 more credits. There's a long silence on the other end of the line, the weight of their predicament hanging heavily in the air.
I'll try, Johnny. I'll try.
Daisy finally replies, her voice barely above a whisper. Also, I might need you to do some library research on Hastings Corporation and that mutant gene event from a decade back. I'll fill you in more when I get there. Hanging up, Johnny feels a wave of despair wash over him. The city's neon lights flicker outside his window, casting eerie shadows across his face. The guilt gnaws at him, a constant reminder of his failures. Private Eye stands there momentarily, staring into the darkness, his mind racing with thoughts of how he's let everyone down. Johnny mutters to himself, his fists balled tight in frustration. Damn it, Johnny. You've got to pull it together. There's too much at stake. Kid's life, your business. You don't have the luxury of being self-absorbed. As Johnson prepares to head out, the weight of his responsibilities bear down on him. But he knows he can't give up. The stakes are too high, and the shadows of New Cyber City offer no respite for those who falter. The officer behind the desk at the Scorched Wing precinct is old, his gray-white hair a stark contrast to the harsh neon lights outside. Lily eyes him bitterly, her inner monologue cutting through the stale air.
This is why we don't bother with cops. This guy looks half dead.
Most people's common resolve is simply to stay alive, and it's clear this officer has successfully done so for over 90 years. The man squints at a newspaper crossword, a multi-magnifier glass in hand, solving each clue with steady efficiency. For a moment, Lily is struck by the absurdity of it all, but she quickly brushes it off. She starts, her tone sweet but laced with sarcasm.
Excuse me? Could I interrupt you from your hectic duty?
The officer glances up, instantly recognizing trouble in the woman before him. He flushes faintly as Lily gives him a disarming wink, but Sergeant Mikolov's entrance spares him further discomfort. It's okay, Meekings. I've got this. Mikolov gestures for Lily to follow him into his small office. The sergeant's office is as utilitarian as the precinct itself. Bare walls, a cluttered desk, and a persistent hum from an outdated air conditioner. Lily sits across from him, her posture tense, while Mikolov grabs an electronic pen and a word pad. All right, ma'am. What's going on?
My son was taken into custody, then he was released without my knowledge. He's 11. We fought and he ran away.
Lily's voice falters, but her eyes remain steely. I'm deeply sorry. The law required us to release him once bail was posted.
But I'm his mother. He's just a child.
I know, ma'am. Unfortunately, the law prioritizes getting kids back to work if they're unemployed. It's a mess, but that's what we're stuck with.
I've hired a private detective to look for him, but I need more. I want my son back.
Mikolov leans forward, his expression a mix of concern and determination. We'll do everything we can. Do you know who bailed him out?
No, but I need their name.
Already wrote it down for you. She's a social worker. I'm not sure she knows where he is, though. Do you have any idea where he might go?
He loves the arcade in the lower sectors. It's one of the few places he feels like a kid.
Lily's composure cracks, her eyes welling up.
It's more than just the city. I've heard rumors about a serial killer. Little boys are disappearing.
Sergeant Mikolov makes a note, nodding gravely. I'll send officers to check it out. The city's dangerous, especially for a kid alone.
Can I step out for a moment?
Mikolov's jaw tightens, but he keeps his tone even. Major Crimes is investigating. So far, it's mostly tied to military families. But I'll pass your concerns along. Lily stiffens at the mention of military families, but says nothing.
Can I step out for a moment?
Mikolov nods, watching as she leaves. Outside, Lily leans against the precinct's grimy walls, the oppressive neon glow casting her shadow long across the rain-slicked street.
Stay strong, Lily. You're all he has left.
When Lily returns, her voice carries a hint of restraint, her cheeks flushed. Mikolov notices, but doesn't press. Why did your son run?
He didn't like my boyfriend.
Why not?
They just didn't get along.
Her answer is evasive, and Mikolov picks up on it. He tugs thoughtfully at his earlobe, deciding to bide his time. Does his father have any military connections? Lily's jaw tightens, but she quickly brushes the question aside.
Not relevant. Just find my son.
Mikolov sighs, spinning his pen absently as he reviews the paperwork. The social worker's name is here. We called the listed guardian, Tom Rattling. He said he'd notify you.
He didn't.
I understand your frustration. We're doing everything we can.
That's not good enough. He's out there alone. And there's someone hunting boys.
Mikolov's gaze sharpens. We'll move fast, I promise. Lily's fists clench, nails digging into her palms.
He's all I have. Don't fail me.
As she leaves, the city looms over her, its neon signs flickering like malevolent eyes. The rain whispers promises of danger, but Lily squares her shoulders. No matter what it takes, she'll find her son.
I have to.
Johnny leaves his apartment, locking it with a turn of his key. As he turns, a vicious force slams him into the door. A hand squashes into his face, pinning him to the wooden panel. Instantly, Johnny suppresses the urge to thrust his bionic limb deep into the assailant's stomach. Hey, old man. I'm looking to buy myself a new set of wheels, so I want the next several rent payments up front. What do you say, huh? Satuate breathes nasally down the back of Johnson's neck, making the hairs dance in horror. Johnny feels disgusted with himself. He's an ex-Marine, for Christ's sake. But unless it involves work, he follows a pacifist creed he set for himself. No unnecessary trouble. Of his current predicament, Johnson mentally observes. Sure, I'd like to kick 10 tons of shit out of this punk. If Daddy weren't so busy gallivanting all over his city, he wouldn't leave this greedy bastard in charge of the lording over so many private properties owned by the Satuate clan. The private eye musters the courage to speak up, finally chiding. Michael, that's ridiculous. I can't do that. It's impossible. I can finish giving you the rent for this month soon, but not, I repeat, not several months in advance. Would you let up? It's a struggle to talk. Satchwit inhales loudly and punches Johnson in the ribs as a reply. He walks closer to Johnny's body and spits on him as he falls. Sort it out, you pista. All of it. Or I'll have your head on a spike. Gavnosos. Callously, Michael Satchwit spits once again at Johnson and walks off. The harsh sun falls on his shoulders. Within seconds, Johnny's mega smartphone rings with Daisy's ringtone. Yeah, Daisy.
Boss,
Her voice is firm and clear.
Miss White wants to know where you are with her case. Call her.
Ah, damn! Look at this, Eddie. This person's got some money. Well, he did, and it's now ours. Preacherson laughs as he falls off his office chair. The chair scrapes the wooden floor as it falls backward. He watches the 11-year-old boy staring at the computer screen, dumbfounded. Eddie's face shines in the strange blue light from the computer. Eddie announces, "It's a lot of zeros. Always wanted to have that kind of money. So did my mom, I guess. That's why she loves that moron Tom. I hate him. He's a complete douche." The tween's voice contains the coldness of a death sentence, but his facial expression tells a different story. Eddie's face and body give the impression of being slightly forlorn until Justin starts laughing again. Justin's typically low, dry voice rises to an ear-splitting pitch with a saliva gurgle. The laugh is an ungodly sound like a pig squealing. Justin laughs so hard that Eddie thinks he will snort at any minute. But the snorting doesn't happen. Instead, Justin gets hiccups, making Eddie laugh and breaking his short-lived thoughts about his mother. Grabbing some chocolates from the desk, Eddie unwraps them and chucks them into his mouth. He knows he has, as his friend Justin says, made the big score. $1 billion sweep will set them up for years. Hell, maybe the rest of their lives. The teen licks and sucks his fingers. Justin reaches over and draws open the desk drawer. He whips out 2 thick leather gloves with 4 knuckle spikes and announces, "This is my protection." Eddie's face twists, and then he chuckles. "You plan to punch people if they come after us?" Trying hard to remain polite, Justin announces, "Don't be silly. These spikes fire out from where the finger joined to the hand. How do they do that?" Eddie inquires with disbelief. "See this trigger?" Justin says, showing a mechanism in the palm of the glove. "I just push into it with my middle finger. Remember Spider-Man and his web shooters? And when he touches it, one of the spikes flies out and strikes the wall, embedding deeply. Justin hobbles over and picks the spike out of the wall. The wall crumbles a little bit from the hole it leaves. The building is in disrepair, sitting right on the edge of the upper and lower class divide of New Cyber City. However, the front door opens on the poor side, so Hastings has to be diplomatic and can't tear it down. A petition and then a survey went out. Ultimately, the building is left to council care for teenagers who fall off the grid. Not quite an orphanage, but close. He pushes the small but deadly spike back into the glove. Justin claims, "I got one more trick. This is our insurance policy." He walks over to the bed and lifts out a gun hidden there. "What the?" Justin smiles and interrupts. "It's just for here, and it's protection. If the cops ever catch us with it on the street, it is a mandatory 5 years. So I keep it here." Eddie nods, and Justin puts the gun back. After a quick high five, the boys leave the building together. However, they split up by the Shiite mosque on the corner 3 blocks away after withdrawing 20,000 credits each for a spending spree. Eddie feels good. He has never had so much money to spend on anything. Heavy with heat, the outside air rests on Eddie's shoulders. Sweating is a new thing for him. Up until about a year ago, he can't remember sweating. Now, sweat rolls off Eddie's brow. Overall, the air smells ripe with the stench of fish and meats at the stores down the next block. Flies buzz through the air. Eddie quells his desire to take the money and build a new life as usual. Instead, he agrees to meet back at what Justin calls home base. Across the street, a long row of brick buildings converted to condos and rental apartments stands. Most of the buildings are 3 to 4 story high. Eddie watches as Justin disappears into the alleys along the buildings. By himself, the young boy lets his imagination run wild with all the things he could buy. His stomach rumbles. Responding to the will of nature, he strolls along the avenue and heads into the cafe where they sell hot beverages and cakes. It feels good to be alone. When he is with Preacherson, Eddie has a dirty feeling. He likes the kid, but thinks, I need some personal space away from him. At the cafe door, an elderly woman reaches out, begging for a coin. Eddie places 5 credits into her cup. She smiles thankfully at the young boy while flies buzz around her head. The smile is big and toothless, showing the years of decay caused by chronic amphetamine use. Scrutinizing his face, she grabs Eddie's pants leg to thank him. Eddie jumps and pulls quickly away. The bell rings as he enters the cafe. Eddie gazes around at the early 1990s decor and doesn't understand its appeal. Music plays softly in the background, and the cafe smells of pound cake and coffee. On the wall is a massive picture of a scruffy man with dirty blonde hair and a quote saying, I'd rather be dead than cool. Kurt Cobain. Eddie agrees with that to a point. He orders a fizzy drink, a cream cheese bagel, and a cherry bun and sits down in a small booth. A ceiling fan whirls slowly above. It draws some heat away from Eddie, but he still feels sweaty. The whoosh of the fan is almost hypnotic. An icy cool air floats around his ear as Eddie sits enjoying himself. At first, it feels good in contrast to the months of heat Cyber City is experiencing. But it quickly becomes irritating. He swats his hand near his ear, but it doesn't go. You are, or maybe not. Healer? Sufferer? Destroyer of this world? The voice echoes throughout Eddie's head, and the boy feels himself slipping in and out of consciousness. Perhaps it is some form of schizophrenia. He remembers an aunt who had the illness, and stem cells were used to treat the condition. Maybe it is more. He considers jumping up and running, but instead tries to set off in search of Justin. As he does so, he feels a crescendo of pain course through his body. It's as if something sinister is trying to bond with him. The room glows a dim red around him, and he starts to shake violently and convulse. Falling, his head bangs on the padded seat he is perched on as onlookers rush to his aid. At the onset of his next convulsion, Eddie is utterly unconscious. After hanging up with Mrs. White, Johnson buries himself in old newspaper articles at the library, searching for anything that might connect her to the case or to her murky past. He finds nothing but dead ends. Frustrated, he turns the task over to Daisy, knowing her knack for uncovering buried secrets might prove useful. As he leaves the library, the Quad's radio plays Jackie Cyber's voice introducing Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth. The bittersweet melody hums in the background as Johnson makes his way to his office, where he discards his hat and jacket. Slumping into his chair, he stares off into the middle distance, his thoughts heavy and his eyes hollow. A melancholy silence refills the room, broken only by the faint strains of Billie Holiday's I'm a Fool to Want You, drifting from the radio. Daisy steps into the office, her yellow sundress a rare burst of light in the otherwise dim space. She begins tidying up, her movements deliberate, her gaze sharp.
You still listening to that witch?
Her voice is laced with venom, and Johnson barely reacts. Old habits die hard. Jackie Cyber's voice comes through the radio, her words as haunting as the music.
Life is just a dark, endless void, and sometimes we cling to the things that hurt us the most because they're the only things that remind us we're still alive.
The air grows heavier, thick with unspoken pain. Jackie transitions to Lucretia My Reflection by the Sisters of Mercy, the industrial tones filling the void. Daisy watches him for a moment, her frustration barely masked.
The only thing broken here is you, Johnny.
Shaking her head, she finally speaks.
If the memories were all kisses and sighs, Johnny, you wouldn't be past tense with her. She caused plenty of tears and kissed very few away.
Her words land like a punch. Johnson looks up, his expression pained. It's complicated, Daisy. You wouldn't understand. Daisy steps closer, her voice softening.
Try me. Maybe talking about it will help.
Daisy hides her own inner conflict, how she spends far too much time worrying about this broken man. She cares for him deeply, even as she knows it's futile. Her feelings have no place here. Whether it's the age gap or his fixation on Jackie, the fact remains, he doesn't see her. But she can't stop herself. She places a comforting hand on his shoulder.
No one's asking you to forget her, Johnny, but you can't stay stuck here. This case, it needs to mean everything to you right now. Where are you with the boy?
Her tone sharpens slightly as she adds.
They're shutting the lights off, boss. This place is closing down.
Johnson sighs deeply, the weight of her words settling over him. Maybe you're right. But Jackie, she was my everything. I can't just forget her.
No one's asking you to forget, but dwelling on the past won't bring her back. And it won't pay the bills.
Johnson's eyes glisten with unshed tears, and he quickly brushes them away. Daisy sees the cracks in his armor and offers him a small, encouraging smile.
One step at a time, Johnny. We'll get through this together.
The office falls silent again, save for the radio's haunting melody. For a moment, Johnson allows himself to believe her. 20 minutes later, Johnson shakes his head violently, as if trying to shake away a memory.
What's up to, boss man?
Trying to track down some information on the kid. Hit the arcade and earlier today, even hit the amusement park by the pier.
Penn's Landing.
Yeah, that's the place. Nothing. Tried calling the woman who bailed Eddie out, but got no answer from the number. Also, I am starting to worry about the kid. I read some news stories of parents with missing kids, and starting to think that 427 had some solid information my case links to theirs.
427? The damn robot?
I'm sure the information came from Detective Black.
The guy who tried to kill you.
Just water over the bridge at this point.
You mean under?
Johnny considers it for a minute. Nope. Pretty much have it right. Did you get a chance to get to the library?
No. Spent most of the day trying to get us a payment plan for the lights. No go.
Jackie Cyber's radio show clicks on. Johnny has his select radio tied to whenever she is on. He glances up. His eyes drift off into a vacant stare.
Let it go for now, boss.
If only it were that simple. The detective mutters. Daisy gives him a quick shoulder massage and starts back to her desk. As she reaches her desk, Daisy calls back.
All this obsessive behavior with your ex-wife is killing you. And frankly, it's pretty creepy. If you want to talk to her, call her.
Thank you, Dr. Freud. Johnson snaps, his face tightening. But I don't want to speak with her. I don't want to hear from her. In the slightest.
Says the man who is playing her on the radio. Pining away, if you ask me.
She arches an eyebrow, crossing her arms. Don't you have some work to do? I mean, I do pay you for something, right?
Speaking of pay, boss,
Daisy counters, a hint of sarcasm in her voice.
can I expect a check this week?
I just paid you the other day, when we got the white money. Johnson insists, furrowing his brow.
That was the back pay.
Daisy retorts, her hands on her hips.
Come next payday, you're supposed to pay again.
Next, you'll want to eat every day, too. Thinking for a moment, Johnny asks, I know you said you spent the day at the phone company trying to get a payment plan. So how did things work out with the phone company? Tiny smile creeps over Daisy's face.
I went down, pled, and while I was waiting, I did what you asked. I called White. Funny thing, Miss White was happy to come up with the money.
I see. I need you to look into a person for me.
Sure, boss. Who?
Lily White. Johnson replies, wiping some drool from his mouth with his bent finger.
Our only paying client?
Daisy asks, her voice tinged with surprise.
You did hear that she just paid our phone bill.
Taking a moment to smile, Johnson adds, That's the one. Jackie Cyber's voice comes through the radio.
Pain. What does it promise us? Is it longing for a lost tryst? Chasing down the chance to bring back the good life? A life that's gone. My listeners, call in and tell me why your pain is so important to you. Given all the pain I have seen, I need to know.
Johnson slowly walks over and turns it off, his expression clouded with emotion. Daisy thinks he would have just said,
Off if he wanted the radio off. Savoring the pain, I guess.
The woman glances at Johnny and offers.
I'm heading out to do that research.
With that, she leaves the room and slams the door. Johnson sighs and swivels his chair around before stopping back at his desk. The heat is humid, and he notices it now. The detective pours himself a scotch and opens the bottom drawer of his desk. He grabs a photo and stares forlornly for a time. It's a photograph of happier days. A younger man stands smiling beside a beautiful woman and their little girl. He kisses the photo, drops it back in the drawer, and shuts it away again. The old man downs the scotch in one quick motion, pouring another shot. He gulps it down before pulling in the keyboard and mouse and logging on. Eddie wakes up, still in the cafe. Soft guitar music plays in the background. In that instant, he realizes no one will believe him. No one. He doesn't even think he believes himself. Maybe it's just the seizure playing tricks with his mind. Perceptual disturbances, he's heard, are common during seizures. Yes, that must be it. He picks up his cake amid the stares of freaked-out onlookers, stuffs it in his pocket, and leaves the cafe. Aware of his trembling, Eddie's mind struggles to come to grips with the recent occurrence. He's troubled by the event. Even as he repeatedly rationalizes it as part of his seizures, his heart lurches when he thinks of the words that echoed in his head. Are you? You are. Or maybe not. Healer, sufferer, destroyer of this world. Those words haunt him, dancing at the edges of his consciousness. Was he becoming schizophrenic? He had family members who succumbed to mental illness, but they all showed symptoms much older, close to their 20s. Searching for Preacherson, Eddie decides to skip the shopping trip and return to home base. The streets seem more menacing now, each shadow a potential threat. After an hour, Preacherson returns, his shopping trip predictably successful. He's even managed to score some lobster and soda to celebrate. Realizing Eddie hasn't had nearly as much fun, Preacherson gives an exaggerated apology, pleased by his wit. What happened, kid? You look like "You've seen a ghost." Eddie forces a smile, his mind still racing. "Just had a weird seizure, that's all. Let's eat and forget about it." But as they sit down to their makeshift feast, the tension in Eddie's mind refuses to dissipate. What if it wasn't just a seizure? What if there's something more going on? The questions swirl in his mind, leaving him feeling more unsettled than ever. Stifling air greets Daisy as she leaves the building. Sweat runs down her back in rivulets. She contemplates the tall buildings, morbidly gray and miserably brown. She hates them. The structures are a testament to those born and stuck in the world of poverty and the working class. Pools of sweat form in her limp hair. So Daisy heads home to freshen up. Daisy's apartment is small, located on the second floor of a tall tower block. The only thing she likes about it is that it's hers. It does her justice. Abandoned physically and emotionally by her parents, Johnny's receptionist occasionally receives extensive checks from her mother, a renowned engineer. Quickly, Daisy ducks into her closet. An array of fabrics and dresses caress her skin. Pure and straightforward delight surges through her as her hands pass over buttery cotton, chiffon, silk, denim, suede, ruching, crushed velvet, and leather. The colors dance before her eyes as her fingers move each dress, gown, and blouse to the side. She is still young, but not young in the typical naive manner. The woman knows how to use her power, the influence of the female form. She peruses her wardrobe, chooses a slinky red dress and her favorite high heels, and puts on fresh makeup. Stopping in the kitchen, Daisy opens the refrigerator and pulls out a pitcher of 1A ice water with lemons floating in it. She steps to the cabinet, pulls out a glass, pours the ice water in, takes a sip, swirls the water in the glass, and sloshes down the rest. Refreshed, she is ready and leaves the apartment. Based on the file Johnson left on her desk and information on White, Daisy decides to go from the bottom up. The old district is far from her tower block and Boss's place. Time to wear out the gum on her shoes. She thinks.
If she lived there, maybe she went to one of the local bars there. At the very least, I can check out the old places she worked at and her old home. Be a good place to drown her grief and meet people.
The office sits on the edge of the housing perimeter and the town center. It is near the address that White is using. Eyeing a run-down, murky bar, Daisy decides to go in. The sign, bearing a golden scorpion logo, is falling apart and desperately needs a paint job. Daisy waltzes in, knowing she still has some spark. A few patrons turn and ogle her. Sure, it is a frail bar in the back streets of old Cyber City, where nothing runs appropriately. In the old days, this was almost the shanty part of the city. Her dress rises, revealing more of her thigh, as she perches herself on a bar stool. The bartender, although young and barely able to legally tend a bar that serves alcoholic beverages, all but trips over his tongue as he hurries up to make Daisy's order. Daisy knows to play it cool. She watches and loves old movies, and now owns a vast collection of old cop and spy films. She plays coy, orders of vodka lemonade, and sips at her drink, taking it all in. The woman notices a few patrons finishing their drinks and heading off.
So, you appear very young, sweetie. Are you old enough to serve me these drinks?
The barman blushes. His face turns a purplish red as he stammers his reply. "Yes, ma'am. I'm 21. This is my dad's place. Been working as a bartender since I was 14. We get some real stories in here." His face brightens with a smile that Daisy feels is almost innocent.
Is that so? My friend Lily White used to come here. Did you know her?
I think. I don't remember anyone by that name. Daisy draws out a picture she has of Lily and her kid. Not in a long time. I think she used to spend time with some of the very old gentlemen here. Some guy who was like... As the bartender trails off, Daisy sips coyly, then asks in her sweetest, softest voice if she may have a straw. The young barman quickly rushes a straw to her. She wraps her lips around the straw and sips.
Refreshing. Hits the spot. Thanks, sweetie.
With that, Daisy Bell gives the young man a wink and turns to look around the room, searching for someone who may have more knowledge of the area and its past. An old man, older than Johnny, sits at the end of the bar.
Bingo,
she thinks. There's the winning ticket. Her mind fumbles briefly, searching for what tactic will work on him. She drinks and watches. He drinks the house brew. Daisy begs him for a local. It isn't until a woman with long red hair flowing down over a slinky black dress drunkenly staggers in with a man on her arm that Daisy has some doubts.
Ladies' room?
The woman giggles and heads in the direction where the young bartender directs her. Daisy watches the old man's eyes follow the drunken woman down the corridor to the restrooms. Now, Daisy knows she can still use the woman's power on this old pervert. Daisy waits until the drunken woman comes back. The couple orders drinks and heads to the far side of the room. Daisy orders another drink and strolls over to the old man. He looks up as she approaches, a smile smeared over his lips.
Mind if I sit?
Daisy questions, her voice low, lewd, and seductive. Sure, sit away, replies the gentleman. The eagerness is evident in his tone.
Thanks. Are you enjoying the atmosphere?
Daisy inquires ever so politely, with a slight huskiness to her voice to add a sexy, sultry touch. Up close, the guy doesn't appear much older than Johnny, the right side of 60. The man giggles. Why are you all by yourself? Problems at home, honey? The bartender swoops in, handing the ale to the old gent, and goes to wipe it up after some splashes out. The old man fingers his tie. Daisy Bell settles onto the bar stool and the two smile at each other. She has him baited. Now, to reel him in and see if he knows anything about this lily-white woman. While talking at the Scorched Wing Division, Lily receives a call from Tom. Infuriated, he tells her he received a call from the bank. Someone is messing with his accounts. He tells her they have close to 40,000 credits missing. Lily's whole body stiffens. Curious about who he thinks might have taken the cash, Lily is shocked when Tom replies that it was her bastard kid. Immediately, she tries to assure him that Eddie does not possess the skills to pull off such a job at 11. She thinks,
40,000 credits? Eddie couldn't possibly have done this.
Her mind races, further reasoning.
But then again, do I know him anymore?
Lily, now pissed off, excuses herself from the friendly officer and dials Johnson's number. She waits, but it goes to voicemail. The recording imager highlights her face as she explains what Tom called about.
Damn it, Johnson. Pick up. This is important. Why now of all times?
She reflects on the situation, feeling a mix of frustration and worry. She thinks,
Eddie couldn't have done this, could he? He's just a kid, but I don't know what he's capable of anymore.
The realization stings, adding to her frustration. With a deep breath, she decides this might be an excellent place to search, a starting point in unraveling the mystery.
I need to find him. I need to make sure he's safe. And if he did take the money, why? What is he getting himself into?
Agent 427 stood patiently by Agent Black's desk. He is late, which recently has become typical for him. Hey, 27, what's up?
You tell me.
Nothing. Hot muggy day, as always.
Why is there a profile on your desk of a case from which we were removed?
No idea what. She gives him the robotic equivalent of a stare and points to the folder. You snooping through my stuff? 427? I'm impressed.
You avoided the question. This case was transferred to major case.
Just professional curiosity. I was reading a newspaper article of another kid found and thought it might be helpful if I had a profile in case I ran into the guy.
So you were concerned about the children?
Never.
Must we always do this, Daryl?
Do what? And don't call me Daryl. She places a hand on his shoulder.
Pretend you have no emotions and do not care when people get killed.
He nods. Just professional curiosity. 427 shrugs. Detective Black is hopeless. She decides to go to more important questions.
So, what did Dr. McCarthy say?
Usual crap. He picks up the document and begins to read. Probably male, late 20s to mid-50s. He starts to read the psychological profile. Assailant, unknown. Probability, high of professional affiliation, and not random serial kills. General characteristics: appearance is physically fit, with an air of sensuality and confidence. Personality, complex and multifaceted, combining elements of cold pragmatism with emotional depth and vulnerability flaws. Key traits: resilient. The assailant demonstrates high resilience, able to withstand and recover from difficult situations. This is evidenced by his ability to handle injuries at the scene and his systematic approach to planning and execution. Emotionally guarded. Despite his tough exterior, assailant has moments of emotional introspection and vulnerability. He maintains a significant level of emotional control, rarely allowing his true feelings to surface, as seen when he reflects on his injuries and the pain they cause. Addiction and control. Assailant uses a hybrid version of juice to keep himself alert and focused. His controlled use of the substance suggests a need to maintain a delicate balance between dependence and functionality. He despises those who lack control over their addictions, viewing them with contempt. Lethal efficiency. His approach to his work is clinical and efficient. The use of advanced covert weaponry like his retractable spikes and hidden firearms indicates a preference for preparedness and surprise tactics over brute force. Intellectual capacity. He possesses a sharp intellect and problem-solving ability, capable of quickly assimilating new information and adapting to changing circumstances. This is apparent in his methodical preparation and strategic thinking. Sociopathic tendencies. There are elements in his behavior that suggest a degree of sociopathy. His lack of empathy for his victims, combined with a strategic and unemotional approach to his work, highlights a detachment that allows him to perform his duties without moral conflict. Survivor's mentality. The assailant exhibits a strong survival instinct, driven by a need to maintain his edge in a world fraught with danger and betrayal. His rigorous self-discipline and relentless pursuit of his goals underscore a deep-seated drive to survive and thrive. Internal conflict, pain, and vulnerability. Assailant experiences internal conflict and emotional pain despite his tough exterior. This is seen in his reflections on his injuries and his guarded emotional responses. He uses his addiction as a coping mechanism to manage this pain and maintain control. Desire for connection. His occasional reflective moments hint at an underlying desire for connection and understanding. However, his professional obligations and personal survival, strategies often overshadow this. Conclusion: the assailant is a complex character, shaped by his harsh environment and demanding profession. His resilience, emotional guardedness, and intellectual sharpness make him a formidable operative. However, his addiction and occasional vulnerability add depth to his profound internal struggle. He embodies the ruthless efficiency and emotional complexity of someone navigating a dangerous and unforgiving world.
Impressive.
All bullshit, of course.
What makes you think so? She is usually very thorough in her read of the file and evidence found at the scene and reported in the papers.
How could I have any confidence in a profile that thinks the killer was male when you ultimately discovered the DNA from the kiss came from a woman? Psychological mumbo-jumbo. Just all guesswork.
Most serial killers are male.
I agree with one part of the report. The assassin is not a serial killer, but a corporate hire. Anyhow, I plan to knock off early today.
You never leave early, are you okay?
I'm fine. Detective Black leaves the room. As Daisy oozes toward the bar's exit, her holographic image appears in Johnson's apartment after he accepts the call. What's the scoop, Daisy? Any gold or just coal? Johnny smirks. Even though Daisy can't see his face, the tone communicates it all. A slightly drunk Daisy chuckles confidently.
Oh, boss, you will love this. I got the gold mine. Your client is a foe in the lifestyle department. I went down to the old district of Cyber City, a block from the house address she gave us, where I scored. I admit I had a few drinks. By the way, you owe me out of the petty cash, Johnny.
Johnson takes a sip of coffee and rolls his eyes. Extraordinary. More expenditures. However, it seems Daisy hit on something. Johnson thinks this could be a step in the right direction.
Okay, I met this old guy. He is a security guard for the big boys in the main city. The Hastings Corporation. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Miss White used to frequent the same bar I was in. She was poor, married, and happy. Her husband was in the army. Then, she didn't come to the bars often because she became pregnant with Eddie. And then the worst happened. Her husband died. Sad, huh? Yeah, okay. We're rolling with the basics.
Daisy belches loudly and it distorts the holographic image for a moment. Johnny can't help but laugh to himself. It feels good to hear her laugh.
Oops. Sorry, Johnny. Several months ago, this old security guard saw the same Lily White with a bigwig at the Hastings Corporation.
Daisy looks down at something. Probably notes she scribbled in case she forgot the details.
A Tom Rattling, vice president of Hastings. White has a bit of an odd rags to riches story, huh?
Daisy, I could kiss you. This seems too... I don't know. But my gut is telling me something, and I want to check out this Hastings Corporation and look more into this Mr. Rattling. Thanks, Daisy. You're a star. Take the rest of the day off to recover. You may need it. And tomorrow, run a credit check on Lily and see what comes up.
Okay, boss. And guess what? While I was down here, I ran into an old librarian. She directed me to some books. It looks like a library series on Robert Hastings. I have never seen these published before. They look like personal memoirs. I am going to give them a read.
Well, don't waste too much of our time on them. Hastings is not the case here. Although, I might have some reason to suspect.
I know, boss.
Daisy's holographic image flickers before fading out, leaving Johnny in the dimly lit room, pondering the new lead. Johnny leans back in his chair, the weight of the case pressing down on him. The connection between Daisy and him goes beyond professional. There's a bond, a trust forged through countless late nights and close calls. He appreciates her more than he lets on. He thinks, I should tell her that sometimes. He takes another sip of his now lukewarm coffee. The neon lights from the cityscape outside cast eerie shadows across his office, giving it a ghostly, almost noir vibe. Johnny knows this case is far from over, but with Daisy's help, they might crack it wide open. He muses, we're getting closer. I can feel it. Inside the purple velvet room, named for the slight purple hue of the lights that cast a soft woven effect, Tom sits in a booth by himself nursing a drink. It's his 5th drink, and it's still early in the evening. His thick fingers grip the glass tightly, the cold chilling his palm. Not quite sure how to proceed, Tom knows all the drinking makes him feel like shit. His mind ripples with thoughts of escape. He wants to be away from it all, so he might take a trip to Nagoya or Amori. His mind drifts over neon blue bridges and pyramid-shaped buildings between the beaches and forests. His eyes knit together in concentration when a voice whispers into his ear. The mutant gene lives again, or, in this case more, could your missing child be the one foretold? Tom breaks from his reverie and turns around, finding only vast emptiness. He leans around, peering into the booth next to him. Again, nothing and no one. Usually, when Tom hears sounds that don't exist, they're just garbles of primary consonants. The doctor told him it was hearing damage from years of listening to boombox rock and roll music. He'd had the surgery to repair the stirrup and eardrum. After that, he hadn't heard any voices. Until now. Somehow, this voice gives the impression of more than garbled sounds woven together by his subconscious. The voice sounds so weird. He laughs. Tom is not one for prophecies, so he downs the drink he's been nursing and stands up. A cold chill flows down his spine and he shudders. His hand starts to shake. He hates himself when that happens. Yanking on his coat and throwing the fur scarf around his neck, he throws some credits down and walks out. He's glad to be out of the building after hearing that voice. The sky opens as he heads towards his quad. He half jogs the rest of the way and practically jumps into his vehicle. After receiving the holographic voicemail from Lily White about the possible account hack job, Johnson believes there might be a way to track Eddie down. Although he hasn't hacked into a computer system in nearly 15 years, it seems the best way to trace the codes used and the accounts the money is being sent to. God, has it been 15 years? Where's the time gone? Johnny thinks to himself, vaulting into his quad and speeding to his office. He despises going into his office at night. The red neon lights in the office cast an eerie glow on his skin. When Johnson arrives, he heads straight for the closet. Inside, he knows he has an old computer. He removes the computer box's side panel to access its internal circuitry. He plugs it in. The old processor is hefty, and the fan whirs with a low whine as it boots up. But for his purposes, it will do. Inside the room, the red lights flood through the office window. The lights and heat toy with his mind, releasing images that are hard to suppress. Hatred boils within Johnny as the red light burns through the window and sears his flesh. The red reminds him of the children in the red light district in Kirkuk. That was the worst of all his Iraq experiences. The burning of the children's bodies, the smell of charred flesh. Johnny thinks, no time for old nightmares. Johnson focuses on getting the computer running, especially since a child's life could hang in the balance. Unfortunately, there is a reason it has been 10 years since he last tried such tactics. Neural degradation in his bionic arm makes it risky. The doctors told him there is a very high probability it would short out the arm and all the nerves to it, rendering his arm completely useless. There is even a possibility, albeit much less likely, that a feedback loop could form and fry his brain, leading to coma or death. Even if the feedback loop doesn't reach his brain, the stress and tension in his heart could kill him. Simply put, it is the equivalent of a neural Russian roulette. Johnson yanks the old computer out of his closet. He peels off the fake skin and protective silver plating from his arm. Underneath is an odd red coat of rubber insulation that the doctors told him protects the arm from shorting out when it gets wet. Dislodging 2 wires from his arm, Johnson's thick fingers clip them to the circuit board. As Johnson jacks into the computer, he feels like he's swimming in an ocean of information. It has been long since his last insertion, but the freedom of floating on the waves of pure logic and data is liberating. Wishing the ride would never end, he hopes his implants won't burn out. Feeling the strain on his heart, Johnson knows he can't sail on the cyber waves for much longer. Then, he discovers the coves of the banking transfer lines. He skirts the path, hoping they don't contain untold viruses that could damage his arm circuits and computer chips. He thinks to himself, no amount of money is worth this. Sorting through some of the materials she took from the library, Daisy finds an old leather book titled 25. She pats the book briefly and then runs her fingers over the cover. When she opens it, the first entry signed by Hastings rests before her. It reads as follows.
6/26/49. Dear Diary, this is a milestone for me, for it represents the 25th volume of this book that is generously termed My Life. I am 58 as of the 1st of last month, and I am very hopeful that I shall make it to 60. I began writing this book to no one when I was 14 years old. Being 14 was a crazy time in my life. It was the beginning of high school, and I was not very popular. Despite my success, the best year of my life was still my 12th. When 12, you are considered an adult, even though you are not one. Much has changed in the world since I first uttered that opening sentence, Dear Diary. Hello and welcome aboard my life. Over the years, you have been the sole witness to the comprehensive motivations that have dictated my days. You have witnessed my follies and fame, torment and torture, disasters and defeats. Thus, as I have always done on the first page of my recommitment to you, I shall make a vow that, hopefully, will improve my life and get me through the next couple of years we have together. My vow this year is to reduce the stress in my life by not being overly critical and analytical of the world around me. Robert Hastings.
Daisy holds the book in her hands. It is worn. She thinks,
Interesting. Moment-to-moment read on the life of a trillionaire. If not job-related, this could be fun.
Daisy tucks the book away for later reading. Arriving in Justin's backyard, the boys notice a huge anthill being built. Justin tells Eddie he has an idea. The two of them go into the house and straight to the bathroom sink, where they find some ant killer and other assorted cleaning products and bug sprays. They also grab an old MP3 player with external speakers. Together, they hustle back into the yard, blasting Imagine Dragons' Warriors. They knock over the anthill and spray furiously. The tiny insects run, dying, trying to flee. Justin shouts, "Find the queen! We need to kill her so the colony will die!" They laugh hysterically, ripping through the hill. On finding the queen, they both spray her with the poison. And then, Justin pulls out a lighter and sets her on fire. Rapidly, the flames washes over the queen's body. As the queen sizzles, the boys watch. "Well done," says Justin, obviously pleased. But Eddie has a moment of regret. "Damn things are pests," insists Justin, with a cackling laugh. Eddie wonders for a minute how Justin would react if he were set ablaze. He shivers. Then, noticing how oily his hands feel, and getting a whiff of the poison, changes the subject to washing their hands of the pesticide. Afterward, Justin talks Eddie into getting a mohawk. "It will be the ultimate in rebellion. I'll do it for you. Of course. No spending money. Simple. You will rock it. Chicks will dig it. And we'll get rid of that angelic face. It's so innocent." Justin howls with laughter, while Eddie feigns an angry face, but then he laughs. Eddie has known Justin briefly, but inside, Eddie knows the older boy is having a lifelong effect on him. So, Eddie agrees. The two go into the kitchen, and Justin gets the shaver. Exhaust fans spin, placing a tablecloth over the floor and a towel over Eddie's shoulders. Justin gets to work. The buzz of the blade is both relaxing and entertaining for Eddie. Justin can't help but mess around. With a grin, he pretends to go for Eddie's ears. "Knock it off, bunghole." Eddie jokingly elbows Justin, and Justin stops. Okay. Here we go. Head forward. Don't make it awkward, you snot." He pushes Eddie's head forward and starts to remove the thick hair. It cuts off in huge clumps. "We need music. It's not a whole lot, but I got a huge box of random bargain CDs from another former street rat. It was pretty cool." Justin faces away, and Eddie feels unease permeating the atmosphere. "Anyway, let's throw something on. Oh, I love this band." Eddie sits, wrapped up, as Justin pulls out a CD and places it into the small portable stereo on the kitchen table. 3 Days Grace comes on with their melodic rock. He changes the track swiftly to the Descendants' Here With Me and gets back to shaving off the younger boy's thick hair. Still joking, he slaps the other boy's back. Each song passes, and Justin becomes the style perfectionist, pushing his green dreads out of his eyes. Holding a mirror, Eddie scrutinizes and acts like he hates his new look. Justin moves around, holding the mirror at different angles. Finally, Eddie submits to the jokes and admits he loves the new look, as the band on the CD melancholically sings about being better off alone when a person lives in a space that isn't their home. The lyrics hit home in Eddie's head, tugging at his heart, and he goes quiet, thinking of his mom. Justin puts the mirror down and gently pats the younger boy on the shoulder as he puts 2 and 2 together. He changes the CD before leaving the room, allowing Eddie to sit alone with his thoughts. Thank you for listening to Red Light Falling, Episode 3, Where Does Forgiveness Begin? Written by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. The novel Red Light Falling, a noir tale of redemption by John Andrews, Joseph Cautilli, and Marisha Cautilli. Book 1 of Nanite Nation series. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shauna Lee Carton. Music by Marisha Cautilli.